to us in Jesus' name. Chapter 27. It is still December 23rd, Monday afternoon, the Gabe Tanner Community Center, Compton, California. Ricky Kino, along with two Ameritech agents, guided his daughter Taylor into the new community center. The center, including the parking lot, covered an entire block and was completely fenced in with a beautiful brick-colored wrought iron fence. The place was once a church, though it was big enough to be a small school. Indeed, the church used to run an elementary school on the premises. It had three outbuildings that included classrooms, cafeteria, and a gym. It was perfect for a community center and much needed in the Compton high crime area. The moment they walked in, three smiling people came to greet them. Mr. Kino, Taylor, oh my goodness, it's such a pleasure to meet you. I'm Jimmy Preston. Ricky smiled. Jimmy, it's very nice to meet you, he said as he shook his hand. Jimmy turned to Taylor and shook her hand next. Taylor, thank you so much for coming. The kids here are very excited to get to see you. Taylor smiled sweetly. I'm excited to see them. Jimmy's smile widened. Oh, wow, you are every bit as beautiful and sweet as you are online. Let me introduce you to the people helping me to run this place. This sweet lady is Candace Wilson, and this is her sister, Cora Wilson. They have been a powerhouse of energy and knowledge. I couldn't do this without them. Taylor and Ricky shook both ladies' hands. Jimmy looked up at the other two men. Ricky smiled. These guys are Agents Brown and Coleman. Jimmy nodded and shook their hands. It's nice to meet you. He turned back to Ricky. So, I suppose you know that a community center was badly needed in this area. The moment we opened, it's been nonstop. The kids have responded so well and look forward to coming here every single day. We have activities for kids of all ages and counseling, and we make sure every child that comes here has eaten that day. They all follow Gabe and Taylor online, and they are so much looking forward to hearing you speak today, Taylor. The stage is in the gym, and that's where you'll be speaking. But please, come in. Let me show you around and tell you about the things we're planning, and by the time we finish that, the gym should be filling up. Ricky glanced down at his daughter to see if she was overwhelmed, but she seemed quite calm and glowing with love. He was so proud of her. She looked up at him and smiled. You got this, baby girl? She nodded. Of course, Daddy. Thanks so much for coming with me. Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way, he quipped, which made her laugh. They followed Jimmy down the hall. Hold on. They followed Jimmy down the hall and steps that led to a line of classrooms. They opened a door to have a teacher smile at them, and little children stopped playing, blinked up at the big men that came in. Taylor stepped from behind them and smiled. Well, hello there, little ones, she said sweetly. Okay, children, the teacher said, this is Taylor, like we talked about. Everyone come sit in our circle and let's tell Miss Taylor what we practiced. Taylor smiled as the children immediately complied. She listened as each child said a few rehearsed words. We love you. Thank you for our new school. We love to come here. We love to play with each other. We love Jesus. I love cookies. Everyone stopped to laugh at that one. When they finished, Taylor clapped her hands together. Oh, wow, you guys, that was awesome. And you know what? I love you all so much, and I'm so happy that you have your new school, and I'm happy that you play with each other, and that you love cookies, and mostly that you love Jesus. They left that classroom and finished the tour and headed to the gym. It was packed full. After greeting several more people, Taylor was introduced. Among thunderous applause, she walked out onto the stage and looked out over her audience. There were a lot of younger children, but the whole back half of the group were teens, and Taylor smiled. Hello, everyone, she began. Just so you know, we're live streaming right now on GabeTanner.com. She pointed to the woman she'd asked to hold her phone. So everyone wave and say hello to the world, because that's how many people are watching you. It took a few minutes for the cheers to die down. Okay, so Gabe wanted me to tell you that he's sorry he couldn't be here today, but that when he gets back to California, he promises to come and visit you. He also says to do some of the challenges on his website so that he can ask you about what you did when he gets here. Now, she said as she paused. I know you don't want to hear a long speech, so I just wanted to tell you guys two quick stories. Once upon a time, there was a man who was walking past where they kept the elephants in a circus. He saw that the elephants had only a thin rope tied to their front leg to keep them from running off. He asked the man taking care of the elephants why that's the only thing being used to keep the elephants from running off. The caretaker shook his head. It's funny about that. Since the elephants were babies, that thin rope was strong enough to hold them. And now that they've gotten big, they don't realize that they're now big and strong enough to break the ropes and run away. So they don't try to break free because they've been conditioned to think that they can't. They don't know or they don't think that they can overcome that tiny piece of rope. She paused and smiled. Sometimes people are like these elephants. They don't reach for anything because they don't think they can. We've been told that we're not smart enough, or we're not strong enough, or we're too poor or too young, or we have no help or no support. These excuses are like the small ropes on the elephants. We can easily overcome these things if we just believe that we can do it. Second story. I know a little girl who has no father and her mother is in jail. She told me that she wanted to give me a gift for Christmas, but she couldn't get me one because she had no money. Well, I said, "What do you have?" And she looked around and said she didn't have anything. I pointed to a box of crayons on the floor. "Are those yours?" I asked. She nodded, "But I only have 3 colors left because I lost the others." "Okay," I said, "so we use what we have." Taylor smiled at the little ones in the front row. The little girl asked me what does she have, and I told her she has a yellow crayon, a red crayon, and blue crayon, and a piece of paper. I told her to figure out what she can do with that. What kind of gift could she give? So a few days later, she handed me the gift. I just knew that she was going to give me a picture using those 3 colors. But she surprised me. Instead, she wrapped the 3 crayons rolled up inside the blank piece of paper. I asked her why she didn't make me a picture, and she told me if she gave me a picture, it just gives me a few seconds of happiness. But if she gave me the crayons, it will give me lots of minutes of happiness. I told her, "But these crayons are all you had." And she smiled and told me that it's okay. If these 3 crayons make me happy, then she's glad to have given them to me. So what I'm saying with these 2 stories is this. Don't believe that just because you couldn't do something when you were younger doesn't mean you can't do it now. And no matter what you have, no matter what you do, give your all. If you have a lot, give a lot. If you have a little, give what you can. You will be rewarded in ways that you never thought. God is real, and He will bless you and look after you and teach you to be strong and to rise up. So no matter what's happening in your life, don't forget to pray. People think that prayer doesn't work, but I can tell you that I know that it does. We don't always get what we ask for, but God gives us the things that He knows will make us truly happy. So break those ropes, do something nice for someone, even someone who isn't nice to you. As a matter of fact, do it especially for someone who isn't nice to you. Let's make that a challenge. Pick someone you know who isn't nice to you and do something nice for them. And let's see what kind of miracles that brings about. Can you do that? The children all cheered and applauded. Taylor smiled. Good. Okay, so before I end, I'd like to pray with you, pray over you. So everyone bow your heads. Taylor bowed her head. Hey, Father, it's me, Taylor, and I'm here at the Gabe Tanner Community Center in Compton. And I know, Father, that you see all of these amazing people here. I know that you know their hearts, that you know what troubles and problems they have. I ask for you to bless them, Lord. I ask as you watch them try to do something good for someone, that you will see their efforts and bless them too, and fill us all with your Holy Spirit. If anyone here needs or knows someone that needs healing, I pray that you will heal them. Whatever problems or hardships they're facing, I pray you will help them, and they will know that you are real and that you really do hear their prayers. And I ask these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Amen, they all uttered. Jimmy came forward. Thank you, Taylor Kino. Hey, everyone. Taylor and her dad will sign autographs for a little bit before they leave. So if you want an autograph or a selfie, form a line around from that table over there and stay along the sides of the gym. If you have something you want them to sign, that's fine. And if you didn't bring anything, they'll give you a signed picture of Taylor and Gabe. No running, no pushing. Teachers, please help everyone to line up calmly. That's the end of that scene. New scene, December 23rd, still. Monday early evening, Stewart Ranch, Pine Forest, Georgia. Why do you have to come, Matt? Just go home and help Mom. Go set the table or something. No, Charlie, you go set the table or something. I'm going down to check on the dogs. No, you're not. I already told you I was going down there. So, I am too. No, Matt, go home. You're not my boss. Chaz Stewart drew a deep breath as he headed toward the house after helping his own father at the stable. Boys, stop. But Dad, Charlie began. I said stop. I think we need to have a little talk. Charlie blew out a breath. Well, I'm losing daylight, Dad. The sun's going down, and I don't want Hannah out here at night. Chaz sighed. Okay. You go down to the barn and take care of the dogs. Make sure Hannah gets home safely. Then we're going to talk, the three of us. But Matt, you come walk with me up to the big house. Well, why we got to go up there? Because Dad's hurt his back again, and Mom shouldn't have to carry firewood in by herself, and I shouldn't have to explain it to you. Are you actually complaining about helping out your grandparents? Matthew looked down. No, sir. I'm sorry. Chaz nodded. You're forgiven. They walked in silence toward the big house up on the hill, which was the original Stewart Ranch home where Chaz himself grew up. After saying a silent prayer, Chaz drew a deep breath. So, Matt, tell me why you were so insistent about going down to the barn with Charlie. Matt shrugged. I don't know. I guess I wanted to see the dogs. If you wanted to see the dogs, you had all day. Why did you wait until now? Matt shrugged again. Chaz looked his son over. He and his brother Charlie looked very much alike, and they both looked like him. They didn't get the red hair like his sisters. They got the dark blonde hair like Chaz. Only the boy's hair was a little lighter. Both of them had brown eyes. 14-year-old Charlie had hit a huge growth spurt this past year and had gone from 5 feet 4 inches to 6 feet. 12-year-old Matt was already 5'6" and hadn't hit puberty. Chaz thought he might end up passing his older brother. Charlie will be 15 in February, and Matt will be 13 next month. They were handsome young men and usually well-behaved. Matthew, think about it and just tell the truth, Chaz said. Matthew sighed. I guess I wanted to go down there when Hannah is there. Thank you, son. For what? For telling the truth. Matt looked down. Son, I know things have been hectic, what with the babies being born and then that crazy Thanksgiving. It's possible that I might not have been paying enough attention to you, but I'm paying attention right now. So let's talk about this Hannah thing. Do you like her? Matt shrugged. I don't know. She's nice. Chaz nodded. And cute too, right? Sure. Does she like you? I don't know. I mean, she's nice to me. So you're friends? Yeah, I guess so. Is she nice to Charlie? Sure. Does Charlie like her? I don't know. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you the same thing that I'm going to tell Charlie. Little Miss Hannah Brown has been through a very hard time. Her emotions are going to be all over the place. She's nice to you because you're nice to her. She's nice to Charlie, I imagine, because he's nice to her. She's not ready to be anyone's girlfriend. Matt looked down again. Not for a very long time, Chaz went on. She's been traumatized, buddy. She needs to learn to trust people again. She's definitely not ready to have any relationship other than friendship. She may even think she's ready, but I'm telling you, she's not. And Matt, if she were ready to have a boyfriend, more than likely it would be Charlie. Matt almost gasped and looked up. Why? Don't get me wrong. It's not because Charlie's better than you in any way. It's only because he's older than you, and so is Hannah. She's only a year older than me. They got to the woodpile, pulled out a cart, and started loading it with firewood, and Chaz talked as they worked. Matt, in a relationship with a girl or with a woman, usually the guy is a little older than the girl. It's the order of things. Adam was created first. The men are supposed to be mature, the leader, the one responsible for the protection and well-being of the woman. If the woman is older, there's a slight feeling of her being the senior in the relationship. It doesn't lend itself to a good relationship. There will be a power struggle eventually, even if at first there was some kind of attraction. Now, with Hannah, even though she's only 1 year older than you emotionally because of what she's been through, she's years older than both you and Charlie. What's she been through? You mean her being held hostage by that guy? Well, yes, but she wasn't only held hostage, son. She was beaten, she was chained, she was starved, she witnessed the murder of her mother, and she was made to witness lewd acts. What do you mean? Sighing, Chaz described what Carl Dietz made her witness and the threat it implied. Oh, I didn't know about that. That's gross. Well, there's evil in the world, son. Perversions. I didn't want to have to tell you about that. I wanted to keep you innocent for as long as possible, but I guess it's best that I let you know what happened so that you understand what Hannah is dealing with. On top of that, she knows that her own father doesn't want her. She has a lot to work through in her heart and mind, and that means that Hannah is not ready for anything other than having a few male friends whom she can trust. That means that she can trust that they will help her, be kind to her, and not pressure her to do or be anything other than a friend. Do you understand? Matt sighed and nodded. Yes, sir. And do you understand why the age difference makes it not a good idea? Yes, sir, I guess. But it seems like Charlie gets special stuff just because he's older. That's right, Chaz said unapologetically. Huh? It's not Charlie's fault that he was born first. He hit puberty before you. Should he be punished for that? He's going to turn 15 in February and be eligible to get his learner's license. Should you be allowed to get it too? Well, no. Why not? Because I'm not old enough, he offered begrudgingly. Right. So should he have to wait until you are old enough? No, sir. Right. But Matt, when you turn 15, you'll get yours too. That's as it should be. They pulled the wagon toward the back of the house. Chaz opened the door, and they each carried armfuls of logs into the den and stacked them neatly in their place. Patricia Stewart walked into the den. Hey, guys, listen, thanks so much for taking care of that for me. I could have done it myself. I know you could, Mom, but I can't let you. Matt went out to get another armful, and when he came back, Patricia grabbed him and kissed his cheeks. Thank you so much, Matty. He smiled. You're welcome, Nana Patty, he quipped. Chaz and Matt both went out to get a final armful of wood. Okay, Mom, you're good to go. Are you still coming down to dinner tonight? Of course. Are you guys all still coming up here the day after Christmas for dinner? Of course. We wouldn't miss it. Is Dad in bed? Yes, he took something earlier for pain and is snoring away, but he'll be up in about an hour. Chaz nodded. He had to swallow the little lump in his throat. His father had always been so strong, so tough, and Chaz knew that he hated being incapacitated. Well, tell him I said to be careful and get better or I'm going to kick his butt. Patricia giggled like a little girl. Oh, sure. I'll go up and tell him right now. He laughed. See you guys in a little bit. Bye, Nana, Matt said as they walked back out. They left the wagon by the wood pile and headed back toward the house. So, Matt, about what we were talking about, how do you feel about what I said? Matt shrugged. Well, I don't feel that happy about it. Son, you understand that you're about to go through puberty, right? Yes, sir, 'cause you've told me enough times. Chaz smiled. I guess I have, because it explains your behavior lately. Going through puberty, Matt, means your body is changing. You're becoming a man. You're showing the signs of testosterone running through you, and that makes you feel things you're not used to feeling, and it affects your moods and your emotions. Just a few months ago, you didn't want anything to do with girls. That has begun to change, and that's good, because it means you're growing up. But we have to get this thing under control. And what I mean by that is, the hormones running through you have an effect on your emotions. You might feel anger more than usual, or frustration, or a strong attraction to girls. Still, That's not an excuse to do or say whatever you want. It means that you have to learn to control those feelings. Because a good man, a real man, can control those urges and tendencies. The bad guys are the ones who never learned how to do that. The bad ones make all us men look bad. We can't have that. They both looked up as Charlie came down the road from the direction of the inn. Did you see Hannah home? Yes, sir. Okay, boys, come sit here by the fire pit and let's have a talk. Yes, sir, Charlie said immediately. Matthew sighed but obeyed. Chaz went over most everything he'd already spoken to Matthew about, knowing it wouldn't hurt for Matt to hear some of those things again. Charlie was pretty quiet while he listened. Chaz decided to put Charlie on the spot. So, Charlie, tell me, do you like Hannah? Charlie glanced at his younger brother and heaved a sigh. I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't made any advances on her or anything like that, but I like her, I guess. Well enough. Chaz nodded. But you understand that what she needs right now is a friend she can trust. I get it. Okay, so here's the clincher of all this, Chaz said sternly. This family, our family, is important. It's important to me and your mother and God. And no way, absolutely no way, can two brothers allow a girl to come between them. If somehow you both end up liking the same girl, you cannot fight over it. One of you will have to back off. Period. There is no way a battle over a girl can be allowed to break up our family. You got that? They both sat silently for several moments. Charlie looked up. Oh, yes, sir, of course not. I love Matt more than anything. He's my brother. Chaz smiled but kept his stern tone. Well, the way you spoke to him earlier didn't sound too much like brotherly love. Charlie smiled. Well, he was being a little frustrating, but I'm sorry, Matt, if I hurt your feelings or something. Hold on, this cat wants to go out. All right, go ahead. I don't know why you want to go out. It's freezing cold out there. 5 degrees. Okay. Chaz smiled but kept his stern tone. Well, the way you spoke to him earlier didn't sound too much like brotherly love. Charlie smiled. Well, he was being a little frustrating, but I'm sorry, Matt, if I hurt your feelings or something. It's okay, Matt said immediately. Chaz jumped in. It is definitely okay if you hurt his feelings. If you tell him the truth in a respectful manner, then too bad if it hurts his feelings. He'll have to learn to get over it. That's what a man does. So what you could have done differently, Charlie, was ask him why it was so important to him that he go down with you to the barn. Well, he wouldn't have told me it was because he likes Hannah. If you had been kind in the asking, he may have. A good big brother would try to understand what the little brother is thinking. So, Charlie, be kinder and more understanding. Yes, sir. Again, Matt, I'm sorry. Me too, Charlie. Good. Now let's get back to the house because I'm sure your mom could use our help getting ready for company tonight. New scene. It is still December 23rd. It is Monday evening at the Keith home, Huntington Beach, California. Melody smiled at the knock on the door. I'm sure that's Logan, she said to her mother, who was currently adding butter to a pot of freshly cooked rice. Melody hurried to the front door and opened it. Logan stood there, his handsome face smiling. He wore gray slacks and a black sweater over a white collared shirt, and he held a beautiful bouquet of flowers in one hand, a bakery box tucked under his arm, and several gift bags in the other hand. Logan, Melody said softly, what's all this? He smiled. It's Christmas time. You didn't think I'd show up at your house empty-handed, did you? Well, actually, I've been so busy I didn't think about it at all. She stepped back and opened the door wider. Come in. He stepped inside. Wow, it smells really good in here. It does, Melody agreed. Mom and I have been cooking frantically since we got home. I feel guilty. All I did was rush home and jump in the shower. Well, you look very handsome. And you look beautiful as always, he said as Melody's mother came into the living room. Hello, Logan. Welcome. Hi, Mrs. Keith. These are for you, he said quickly as he stepped forward and handed her a beautiful bouquet of red carnations, red roses, white lilies, baby's breath, pine cones, and holly. Oh, my, Logan, these are beautiful. Thank you so much, she gushed as she stepped forward and kissed his cheek. He grinned. I'll go put them in a vase. Come in, make yourself comfortable. Let me set these down for you, Melody said as she took the gift bags from his hand. She set them over near the Christmas tree and came back to him. Who is this for? She asked, pointing at the bakery box. He smiled. For everyone. These are Miss Jewel Brooks' special Christmas macaroons, and they are like so good. Melody took the box and placed it on the coffee table in front of the couch. Logan got a chance to look her over better. She wore a dress, which she didn't do often. This one looked like a white cable knit sweater that came to just above her knees. It hugged her body and made his mouth go dry. It had a high neck and long sleeves. She had a perfect body, trim, strong, toned, sexy. She wore red shoes that had a small clunky heel, and she smiled at him. He took her hands and looked her over closely. Mel, you look amazing. He pulled her to him, and very, very sexy. Oh, well, thank you. He tilted her face up and kissed her softly, briefly. He looked up when he heard someone come into the room. It was her father with an armful of wood. Mr. Keith, let me help you with that. David Keith started to shake his head, but Logan quickly took the wood out of his arms and set it down piece by piece, neatly arranging it in the pretty wrought iron rack near the fireplace. He then turned to shake her father's hand. It's good to see you again, Logan, David said. You clean up real nice. Logan chuckled. Thanks, and thank you for having me. Oh, it's our pleasure. Can I get you something to drink? Maybe some wine? Dad, Melody began. Logan smiled. Mr. Keith, is this a test? David laughed. No, it was more like a joke, but really, we do have some virgin eggnog that is made with raw milk cream. The recipe was given to us by your mother. Would you like some? I would love some, Logan said quickly. I'll go get it. Mel, you want some? No, not yet. It fills me up. David left the room just as Lyle came running down the stairs with a gift in his hand. Hey, Logan, long time no see. Logan chuckled and shook his hand. Hey, Lyle, did you have a good time today handing out to the homeless? Man, it was so good. Seeing the look on people's faces, seeing the look on those people's faces, I actually wanted to take them all home with me. They were so grateful for the little bit of stuff we gave them. I almost feel guilty. Well, feel blessed. It's a fine line to walk, Logan said. Right, and I am so blessed. And your dad and uncle, though, ordering all those hot meals for every single person on that street, it was amazing. Yeah, I agree. Well, anyway, glad you came to dinner. Let me just sit this down. He placed the wrap box under the tree. Philip should be down any minute. He got home later than the rest of us. He helped your bro with getting those kids off the streets and then took the Quinn girls home. I heard. I'm looking forward to meeting the guy who's going to stay at our house. I can't remember his name. It's Ryder, Philip said as he came trotting down the steps. Logan nodded. Ryder, that's right. Hey, Phil, good to see you. You too, man, Philip said as he approached and shook Logan's hand. Finally, we get the honor of your company. Logan laughed. Well, life has been very busy, but I'm really happy to finally be here. David came back with Logan's eggnog and handed it to him. Logan immediately took a sip and smiled. Thanks. That is so good. Philip and Lyle immediately went to get some for themselves. Logan, sit down, David said. Relax. Well, I have to go help Mom finish cooking. Dad, don't be icky. She turned and left, Logan watching her departure. He looked back at Mr. Keith. So what kind of icky is she talking about? David shrugged. Probably like not talking about yours and my daughter's relationship, or ask if you're keeping your hands off her, or ask when you're going to get married, or... He stopped when Logan choked. David's eyebrows rose. Logan wiped the eggnog off his face with his thumb. Sorry. So was that such a far-fetched question? No, sir. It's not far-fetched at all in my mind. Which one are we talking about? David asked. Logan's brow creased as he thought over what the other question was. Oh, well, no, I mean, I'm pretty much keeping my hands off her. Pretty much? Oh, well, I am. I mean, I hug her. He shrugged. I kiss her. But, I don't put my hands where they shouldn't be. David nodded with a smile. And the other question? Logan nodded. That's the one that's not far-fetched in my mind. So you two have talked about getting married? No, sir. I mean, not really. I mean, we've discussed that we want to date and get to know each other, and that the reason for us dating is not to, you know, hook up, but to see if we're like good for like, I mean, well, to get married. But I haven't proposed or anything. I wouldn't do that without talking to you first. David nodded. But you have intentions of doing that? Logan swallowed. Well, sir, we haven't dated very long, but in my mind, she's the one. Is that what you really wanted to know? Yes, it is. But I don't think she's quite ready for that yet. So we'll date. We'll be exclusive. And when I'm pretty sure things are solid, I'll ask. Oh, like after I ask you. David smiled. Last week, when she was in the hospital, she told me she was in love with you, and I told her it was too soon for her to be talking like that. Don't get me wrong. You're a fine young man, Logan, and you are completely capable of taking care of my daughter. But she is young, only 18, and her feelings could change, and for that matter, so could yours. Logan shook his head. I understand that she's young. I guess I am too, only 20, but I guarantee you I know my own mind and my heart, and I am totally in love with Melody, and that will never change. In the dining room, Philip held up as he overheard the conversation. Finally, he turned and headed back into the kitchen. Mel, you need to get back out to Logan. Why? Dad's grilling him. Oh, no, I told him not to do that. She looked around. Will you and Lyle help Mom? Sure, both Lyle and Philip said at the same time. But Mel, don't make a scene. She nodded. I won't. She quickly headed to the living room and sat down next to Logan. Hey, guys, what you talking about? Logan smiled warmly at her. You and how awesome you are. I bet. Dad, you weren't being icky, were you? I was being fatherly, that's all. Melody looked into Logan's eyes and saw some trepidation there. She sighed. They all looked up as Carol came into the room with the flowers Logan brought and placed the vase on the coffee table. There now, aren't they lovely? She murmured. Thank you so much, Logan. I'm glad you like them. Carol smiled brightly. Well, everyone, dinner is ready. Let's gather around the table. New scene. Logan and Melody finished washing the last of the pots and pans. The dishwasher was softly humming. Their bellies were full. Melody squeezed her microfiber cloth and ran it one more time over the countertops while Logan leaned back and watched her. She smiled up at him. All done. He nodded, peeked around, and then motioned her forward. She came immediately, looking over her shoulder. He quickly grabbed her, spun her around, placed her back against the counter, his hands on the counter on either side, trapping her. I've got you now, he whispered as he leaned forward and kissed her. When he tried to pull back, she moaned, put her arms up around his neck and pulled him down for more, and he slid his hands around her waist. Oh! They sprang apart. Oh, I'm so sorry, Carol Keith said quickly. Logan cleared his throat. I'm sorry, Mrs. Keith. Logan cleared his throat. I'm sorry, Mrs. Keith. I couldn't help myself. She laughed. I was just coming in to see what else needs to be done. We're all done, Mom, Melody said quickly. Come on, let's go out to the living room. She grabbed Logan's hand and headed out, and Carol followed. Logan and Melody sat together on the sofa right next to Philip. Well, Logan began, I just want to say thank you for such a delicious dinner. The pork roast was perfect, and that rice, man, that was good. It's called Christmas rice, Melody explained. Yeah, because it has red peppers and green peppers, and then a bunch of other stuff, Lyle said. Logan nodded. Well, I'd love to give my mom the recipe. Philip laughed. Logan, you say all the right things. Logan smiled. What? No, really, I'm serious. Sure you are. Anyway, Philip rose and went to the tree and pulled out a small gift bag. So, this is for you. Logan smiled and accepted the gift. Thank you, Phil. He reached in and pulled out an insulated mug. Logan grinned. Awesome. On the front, it read, Life without music would. And then on the next part was a diagram of a note on the third line of a staff with a small B in front of it. He glanced up at Philip. Very good. Philip laughed. I had to look it up to make sure it meant what I thought it meant. Logan chuckled. Effort noted. Life would indeed be flat. He looked the cup over. Really, This is perfect. It will hold my morning smoothie and keep it cold while I'm on my way to school. Thanks so much, Phil. He stood and offered his hand, but once he had it, he pulled him in for a hug. Phil began. It's nothing really, it's just a cup. A gift is never nothing, Logan quoted his grandfather. Cool, Lyle said, because I have one for you. He went to the tree and picked up the gift he'd earlier placed under the tree. He handed it to Logan and went back to his seat. Logan looked the gift over. It was a wrapped box about the size of a coffee mug, but it was too light to be a mug. The wrapping was a little haphazard. He smiled at Lyle. Did you wrap this yourself? Lyle nodded. Yeah, I tried. It's awesome, and again, effort noted. The people in the room laughed softly. Logan opened the box to find another box inside, and that box wasn't wrapped. It was just a small white box, and Logan opened it. It was a metal keychain with a message engraved on it, and Logan silently read the message and then nodded, a big smile on his face. What does it say? Melody asked. It says, never forget that the brother of the girl you love thinks you're totally cool. Don't mess that up. He stood immediately and pulled his keys from his pocket and added the keychain to his keys and walked over and hugged Lyle. I am going to try very hard to not mess that up, he said. Thank you so much. I love it. And I love you, brother. Melody smiled at the words. She felt like her heart might explode, and she sniffed back the tears that tried to gather. This guy? How lucky is she to have this guy? No, she thought, how blessed. She looked up briefly. Thank you, Jesus, she thought. When she opened her eyes, her father was looking at her, and she smiled at him. It's our turn, Carol said quickly. She went to the tree and picked up a gift bag and handed it to him. We really wanted to get you something, but we had a hard time deciding what to get, so we decided to keep it simple and bought a few things because we couldn't make up our own minds. She means she couldn't make up her mind, David added. Logan smiled. I'm sure I'm going to love it. He reached into the gift bag and pulled out a black t-shirt that had a picture of piano keys on it, but in the middle, the keys rise up to make a cross. His smile widened. I love it. He pulled out a second t-shirt, also black, that read, As for me and my piano, we will serve the Lord. He grinned. Wow. And I really love this one too. Thank you so much. Wait, there's more, Carol said. He looked again and found a blue satin-covered box. He opened it and pulled out a bottle of men's cologne made by the brand of body wash that Gabe uses. Ah, yes. This is really good stuff, Logan said. He stood and went to Carol first, who also stood. Thank you, Mrs. Keith. I love all of it so much. I'm so glad you do. He took her hand and leaned in and kissed her cheek. He quickly turned to Mr. Keith and shook his hand. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. It's not a big deal, Logan. What do you get a young man who has everything, right? Logan frowned a bit, looked slowly around him and nodded. You're right. I have everything. Just look around me. The most amazing girl in the world, her most amazing family, and a t-shirt that proclaims to the world that I serve the Lord. My cup runneth over. Melody smiled again, and this time the tears filled her eyes. She sniffed and rose. My turn, she said quickly. She went to the tree and lifted a small box from underneath and brought it to him. Everyone sat quietly to see what Melody had bought for her boyfriend. He opened the small white box, and it was a thin, polished white stone in the shape of a heart, edged by what appeared to be gold plate. No chain, no hold to add a chain, just a simple heart. He looked up at her, smiling because he believed he knew what it meant. You're giving me your heart? He asked softly. She nodded. It goes in your pocket or in your wallet. That's why it's so flat. I'm giving you my whole heart to keep with you at all times. That's what it represents. He sighed as his own heart overflowed. I accept your whole heart, Melody. I will cherish it and keep it with me everywhere I go, always, forever. I will take very good care of it. I'll be very careful not to lose it or scratch it or damage it in any way. Melody smiled as he stood and pulled her up to him. They were in front of an audience, so he simply touched her face. Thank you, Mel. It's the best gift ever, and it means more to me than life itself. Her eyes opened wide. He smiled and hugged her softly. He then set her down and smiled at everyone. Thank you, Keith family, for such wonderful and thoughtful gifts. And now it's my turn. He went to the tree and gathered up his gift bags, handed the appropriate one to each member of the family. Lyle, you go first, David said. Lau reached into his bag and pulled out a picture of a machine. He studied the paper. It's a whippersnap machine. Logan nodded. It's fairly new on the market. Only a few pros and some high schools are using it. It's a snap machine for quarterbacks so you can work by yourself or without a center. My brother swears by it and says he wished he had it when he was younger. It's made by a guy who's a Hall of Famer QB in his small college. The QB with the most wins ever. He does high-end coaching now. JoJo says this guy was an amazing athlete that got no hype. He actually lives in Georgia. His name is Jeremy Clements. He makes these machines himself by hand, and yours was delayed, but it will be here in another week. It will really help you as you train. It comes with a pamphlet of drills and skills. Wow, Logan, thank you so much. This is amazing. I will definitely put this to use. Oh, I know you will. Let me know when it comes in, and we'll work together a little bit. So you used to play football? Lyle asked. Sure. I was my brother's top receiver in high school. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Very cool. He stood and came around to give Logan a hug. Thanks, man. You're very welcome. He turned and smiled at Philip. Phil, I hope you like what you got. I think your parents will really like it too. Philip reached in his smaller bag and pulled out 2 small boxes, each containing a dash cam, one for the front and one for the back of his car. He smiled as he looked closer at them. Oh, man, this is so awesome. You're right. My parents are going to love this. What is it? His mom asked. It was Logan who explained. They're dash cams. According to the Foundation for Traffic Safety, teen drivers have an average of 15,000 traffic accidents per state per year. In Cali, it's over 20,000. Dash cams are a must to show what really happens, and they protect people from being falsely accused of causing an accident. And these cams also monitor speed and location. They're voice operated, they have audio, and all video is stored. I just installed them in my car last year. Philip looked up from reading the package. Wow, Logan, these are cool. He nodded. They will keep you a little safer, and you'll drive safer too. That is a very thoughtful gift, David said. Thank you. Yeah, Logan, thanks so much. He stood and hugged Logan. Logan smiled. Mrs. Keith, my mom said I needed to be very careful about what I got you because women are very particular about what they use personally or in their homes. So she recommended what I got for you. I hope you like it. Carol smiled as she reached into her bag and pulled out 3 very beautiful, obviously high-end, scented candles. Oh, Logan, these are beautiful. I hope you like them. My mom says they're all natural, no artificial scents or flavors or colors, so they don't pollute the air, and she thought you would love the way they smell because they are like high-end perfume. Carol removed the metal lid from one of the glass jars and sniffed, and her eyes opened wide. Oh, wow, that smells so good. How did you know I love candles? I love them so much. I burn them all the time. Logan smiled. Well, I didn't know, but I'm glad I got it right. She rose and came to him and took his face in her hands and kissed his cheeks. And Logan blushed and moved on. Mr. Keith, I have to tell you about your gift. David nodded with a smile. I'm interested to hear. Some of the best talks I've had with my father have been in the middle of the night. I wouldn't be able to sleep, and he'd get up to see who was in the kitchen, and we'd sit at the table and talk. We'd usually snack on cookies or eat a bowl of cereal. Then, one year for Father's Day, we bought him the same thing I just bought for you, and it has been the center of so many late-night talks and prayers and confessions. So, I just wanted to share that with you. David nodded. Well, now I'm really curious. He lifted the bag from the floor onto his lap. Wow, it's pretty heavy. He reached into the bag and first pulled out a package of chocolate bars, followed by a bag of marshmallows, and then a box of graham crackers, and then a bag of wooden skewers. The last thing he pulled out was a rectangle concrete tabletop fire pit. Oh, this is very cool, Logan. Logan smiled. I hope you like it. But I do have a warning. Roasting marshmallows in the middle of the night, well, it smells really good, and many times people will wake up and come down to join you. He shrugged. Still, those times were always fun and beautiful memories. David smiled. We will definitely put this to good use. He stood, and Logan stood, and they shook hands. He looked into Logan's eyes. Well done, young man. Logan smiled, and so did Melody. And Logan turned to his girl and nodded at her to open her gift. She peered into a small gift bag and pulled out a rectangular box covered in blue velvet. She slowly opened the box. It was a necklace that matched the anklet he'd given her earlier. It was a delicate gold chain with a pendant that consisted of a gold open heart with a cross inside and a green stone on the cross. She looked up at him. Is this made by the same people? He shook his head. No, this is Tiffany, and that's a real emerald, again, to kind of match your hazel eyes. Logan, this is beautiful. He smiled. It's pretty. You're beautiful. Do you want to try it on? She nodded excitedly and removed it from the box. Let me, he said. She turned her back to him, and he quickly fastened the necklace for her, and she turned toward her family. What do you think? It's lovely, Melody, her mother said. The guys all agreed. Melody turned back to Logan. Thank you so much. I love it so much. I'm glad you do. He ran his hand over her hair, bent down, and placed a quick kiss on her lips. David rose. Well, everyone, this has been such a wonderful evening. It has, Carol agreed. Logan, thank you so much for coming to dinner. Oh, it was truly my pleasure, he said quickly, hoping that wasn't a hint to leave, because he wanted to stay a little longer, maybe get some alone time with his girl. It was Philip who came to his rescue. Well, Logan, Philip began, I'm kind of disappointed. Why? I guess I was hoping your gift to our family might be something musical, like you singing a song for us or something. Logan smiled. Well, I didn't want to presume, but hey, my guitar is in the car. It is? Carol said. Oh, please, would you go get it and sing something for us? Logan smiled and nodded. I'd love to. Be right back. And that is the end of chapter 27.